Welcome to this episode of Cheerleading Interventions. I'm Sherry Dowderer, co-host of this podcast. I don't know if you're aware, but Jonily hosts a free event on the first Saturday of every month where she talks to math teachers about problems to overcome math challenges. I've been attending this. Yes, I, as an OT, have been attending this for the last 5 years. That's how I discovered how this area was something that we needed to help our students with. But she has invited us to participate and take a sneak peek at the beginning of her session. For anyone who is not present, we do offer CEUs if you go into Disability Labs, the link is in the show notes, and you take the short quiz that's available. Today, you're going to get to see the beginning of Saturday Math, September 2024, to hear the rest of the math and a little bit about what I had to say. Also, I want you to wait until the end. We also have something else that we're inviting you to.
Saturday Math. We're back for the 2024-2025 school year, and I am your fearless leader, Jonily Zupancic. Saturday Math is a chance for us to come together and for you to learn about counterintuitive, brain-based, highly impactful, which means raising test scores, powerful, opportunity to learn about how to improve number sense and math achievement for our students. By doing that, our goal is to be able to teach more in less time with fewer things. So if everything's important, nothing's important. What typically happens, especially in mathematics, is kids' folders and binders get so stuffed with things and with worksheets and packets, and then by the end of the year, we don't have any significant results of those kids achieving and growing. So what we want to do is really come back to these cliche phrases: less is more, work smarter, not harder. And people say those all the time, and we nod and we're like, yeah, we want that. We want that. But it's like, what does that really mean? What does that in particular look like? And I'm going to show you that on all of these Saturday mornings. And this morning, we are going to focus on diagonals. That's it. Like, that's how much I want us to simplify this less is more, work smarter, not harder. So everything we do today is going to be based on this one diagonal I'm about to show you. This one diagonal can target standards from preschool through high school, and this one diagonal can improve number sense and overall math achievement for our students. So as we go through the Saturdays this year, we're going to get a little more particular. We're going to get a little more deliberate. We're going to get a little more focused on certain standards. But today, I just want you to see the overall beauty of how one diagonal can teach hundreds of math skills and concepts. And the reason for this is our kids feel defeated with mathematics. Our kids are beaten down. So even as young as kindergarten and first grade, kids already come in with a sense that I can do this or I can't do this. Now, what they really mean, and part of what they're saying is true. Part of what they're saying is true because we are born with a certain level of number sense. Number sense, by definition, is the innate intuitive understanding of number, and we are born with a certain level of that. There's a good amount of research that says babies as young as 6 months old can see how large or small numbers are, and babies as young as 6 months old also already have deficits in their seeing of number. And number meaning how big and small numbers are, where they're placed on the number line, the size of number, and the word that I'm going to use for this is magnitude. So even our kids in kindergarten, 5th grade, 9th grade, still have this innate intuitive sense, and it varies from person to person. Not everyone has the same level of sense. So when kids say, I can't do that, I can't see it, there is some truth to that. And what we want to do is, instead of coming back with, and I know this has kind of been some of the flavor in math professional development and, math on social media, instead of coming back and saying, oh, I can't do that yet. Okay, that kids are just annoyed by that sometimes. You know what I mean? Just in all honesty, I know our intentions are good. I know our intentions are good. Or we come back and we're like, we've got to have a growth mindset. Okay, if you have a mental disorder, let's say you've got depression, you've got anxiety, or you're just, people don't call this a mental disorder, but if you are a type A, whatever, that's somewhat of a mental disorder, because we're often annoyed by what some of the people say, because we're like, look, we just don't operate that way. So you're saying these great things and we get it, but that doesn't help me. Do you see? So when we come back with those positive things, I'm not saying don't come back with positive things, but when we come back those positive things, sometimes the kids just see right through that. So we have to be really cautious in how we're massaging this climate and culture in our classrooms and in our intervention sessions. So when kids are telling us, I don't get this, I don't understand, I'm like, you know what? I know. I know. Now, you learn this. I'm going to toggle back and forth between math and real life for a moment. You learn this in therapy. So when someone is coming to you and they're really struggling, what we tend to do as human behavior is to fix it or give a positive or look on the bright side. That is the worst thing you can do for someone that is struggling. For someone that is struggling, unless they're saying something that you totally disagree with, we want to come back and we want to say, I know. I know. Gosh, if you walk away from this session today with nothing else, take that. Okay. So when our kids are behaviorally challenged, and I mean, I know this is a math session, so kids are saying this in math, but when they're behaviorally challenged, ADHD, when they're acting out, and they're frustrated and they're mad, and for some of our older kids, they might be cussing and walking out of the room or whatever it is. The first thing I like to say to kids is, I know. You know what? Sometimes life sucks. I know. And then one of the other things is, how can I help? But let's get back to the math piece. And there are truths to kids that are like, I don't get this. Well, you just don't get it yet. Everybody's a math person. I'm not trying to make fun of that stuff, but really, when you get down to the core of how to fill deficits with kids, that's not the way to do it. So I say, I know. And the next thing I say, particularly in my math small groups and in my math classrooms, is math is difficult. There is so much controversy with mathematics. There is so much struggle with mathematics that we don't even acknowledge. And kids feel like, well, I'm supposed to get this soon, or I'm supposed to have a growth mindset. I guess I'm just broken and I still don't get it, because they really don't. They don't get it. And because of our instructional strategies, or lack of really good best practices and instructional strategies, kids still don't get it. And then we tell them they'll get it soon, but then they still don't. Do you see? This is like really hardcore this morning. It's really hardcore this morning, but I just want to just drop some truths out there to really have us rethink all of our instructional facilitation practices. So I will say, I know math is really difficult. And what we're going to do is we are going to just try to play with it. Just give me a chance to play with it. And then I'm going to do with them what I'm going to do with you today, with one little diagonal. So I need to acknowledge to them, like especially my 8th graders that I'm working with right now, great group of kids, very compliant, like have a good focus. They've kind of checked out of math because they've been defeated, but they're willing to give it a try this year. This is my new group of 8th graders I'm working with. And they're the best, but they're like, Ms. Zupancic, I don't get it. And for so many years, they haven't gotten it and they don't see it, that they just have lost trust anymore in the adults that are trying to help them. So I'm going to show you what I've done with my 8th graders. Now, I'm in a unique situation. For those of you that don't know me, I am a math coach and consultant for Minds on Math. So I serve anywhere from like 5 to 15 districts every year in some capacity in and outside Ohio, as well as in person and virtually. And because I serve so many teachers in so many districts, I like to bring us together on these Saturdays to kind of like pave the way for all of the work that I do together with my clients. But I have one school in particular, it's a K-8 building, that I have some collaborative groups that I work with. I have some partner groups. And this year I am heavily invested, and I've been in the classrooms every single day of these grade levels. So I'm highly invested and have all of the resources and connection to standards for these grade levels. And that is grade 2, grade 3, grade 4, grade 5, grade 7, grade 8. So I've got 6 classes a day right now that I teach to. And when I teach to each of those 6 classes, I use the same stimulus and task with every single class, and then facilitate it to match the math standards of that grade level. And you're going to see a glimpse of that today. And I think it's important, if you've never been to a Saturday math before, that I share with you all this background information, because what I'm going to do today is going to be very different than we typically deliver mathematics to our kids. Now, I'm going to tell you, I have 3, and I think this is important too, especially for those of you that are regulars that may not have heard this story, or maybe it's been too long. I say this because this isn't all just fun and games. There are 3 particular pretty significant research results that I've gotten in the past 20 years. About almost 20 years ago now, I had a 6th grade group of kids with all different ability levels, from limited and failing the end of course exams every year to accelerated and advanced kids that weren't necessarily in advanced classes for math. So we put a conglomerate of kids together in this cohort in a 6th grade classroom. And of this cohort, this entire class of 6th grade students, 27% of them passed the 5th grade end of year state assessment. Only 27% passed. So, the pair to that to 100 is how many failed. So 27% of this cohort passed the 5th grade. So, not even a third of these kids passed the 5th grade math end of state assessment the previous year. We had these kids, of course, for 9 months. They took the 6th grade assessment. And for these kids, I was with them every day sometimes, and then usually only 1 or 2 days a week with this model. And at the end of that 6th grade year, when they took the state assessment, 60, yes, I know, everybody's numbers are that. As a matter of fact, I have a school district that reached out last year that in their high school algebra end of course state test, 4% passed. This is a fact. This doesn't surprise anyone. But we went from 27% passing to 60% passing. 60. Now, still, to an outsider of the math education world, they're like, you only have 60% passing? No, you don't get it. In the math achievement world, like 60% is a number that only some people can dream of. Okay. Now, in another school just last year, not the partner school I work with, but in another school district, I worked with this school district for 2 years pretty intensely. The 4th grade teachers last year, the end of course 4th grade state math exam that all the 4th graders in the state take, this school district had similar results. They're anywhere from like 40 to 65% passing at any grade level. So these 2 4th grade teachers, with all of the 4th graders in this whole district, 84% passing. 84% passing. So, that is tremendous. But what this is going to take is a complete shift in how we deliver mathematics. Not a shift in the materials we use, although that could be. But here's what our tradition is in mathematics. Oh, hey, we've got a curriculum review year, and now is our chance to get 84% passing. We're going to do a curriculum review, and we're going to choose a new curriculum, and this is going to do it. That will never do it. Okay? Now, I'm not saying don't do those things. I'm not saying like whatever. But if you want results like I'm talking about, that's not the way you're going to get the results. Okay, you do those things for other reasons. One more example, and then I promise I'm going to teach you today, because I'm sure you're like, just tell me how to do it, Jonily. Like, you're preaching to the choir here. We're here on a Saturday morning. Like, we believe you. We trust you. Just freaking tell us what to do. But I need us to truly understand the power and impact of this model. So the third example is I actually, at this partner school, this K-8 building, I have a cohort of kids that I've been following since kindergarten. I get access to them at least 2 days a week, at least 2 days a week. And these kinders, because I call them my kinders, because they're my cohort group, they're in 7th grade this year. So you talk about like commitment to excellence. Okay, they are 7th graders this year. I started with them in kindergarten. When they first took a standardized test, so not an achievement test, not an adaptive test, not, there are 2 really good standardized test companies that I really love for mathematics and for cognitive ability, like IQ-ish. And they are Terra Nova and Iowa. They're actually competing companies, but they both, it doesn't matter. It's apples and oranges. It doesn't matter which you pick. They're both whatever, cost-effective way or whatever partnership you can make with them. When we took the Terra Nova, when these cohort of kids took the Terra Nova, early on in 2nd and 3rd grade, when you start giving it, their cognitive ability scores, IQ scores, and 100 is average, were anywhere from like 89 to 132. Okay, so you had the bell curve of cognitive ability. You do at every grade level, every school. But what we see in schools is for the math achievement portion, we typically see a bell curve also. We see a little bit of kids like under 20th percentile. We see some more kids between 20 and 40th percentile. 50th percentile is average. So you see the most kids at the top, going up that bell from that bell curve. You see the most kids between like 40 and 60th percentile. And then you start seeing 70th, 80th percentile. And then down here, you see, 80th, 90th percentile. And that's a few kids, just like when you give any math test. You get a few Fs, a little more Ds, probably lots of Cs and Bs, a little less Bs, and then a little less As. So we're always teaching to create these bell curves. We want an instructional delivery that's going to break the bell curve. Like, we just have accepted the bell curve because, see, that's how brains are. And that's how statistics tells us cohorts of populations are. And they are. You pick any 20 people off the street, you give them a math thing, you'll get a bell curve scenario. What we did with this cohort group was we broke the bell curve. These kids had cognitive abilities, still bell curve IQs, but no student in the math achievement portion had less than a 70th percentile on their math score. So every single one of these students outperformed their cognitive ability. So this is possible. And let's just snap to it here. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I have 2 documents. I have the document that I'm going to share with you that when I follow up through email, you'll get the document that you can display for your students. But the document that I'm going to show you today, I'm actually going to draw notes on it so you have it for you. So you can take your own notes, but I'm going to draw notes. I'm going to save it electronically, and you're also going to get that copy with all of the notes we talked about today. And then I am recording this, so you will get a link to the recording if you need to go back and re-look at any of the pieces and parts. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to pull it up first, and I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to pull up the diagonals with notes, and we're going to take some notes on this. Now, as I said, the instructional delivery is what is absolutely essential. The instructional delivery is absolutely essential. And I am minimizing, you guys. So if for some reason, like you can't see my screen or you stop hearing me or whatever, just unmute and tell me, because I'm minimizing you. I'm not going to be able to see you while I'm sharing here. So there's a certain way that we actually have to deliver. And this is why an adoption of a new textbook never gets significant results in achievement, is because we're not focused on the delivery. We're focused on the new materials, but we're not focused on the delivery. So you can adopt any textbook you want, and you can use this delivery method with your textbook. This is probably one of the other most important things I say today is whatever I'm sharing with you today, you're going to see how it teaches standards. You'll find things like this in your textbooks. The key to achieving high success is the delivery, how we facilitate it. Just like I talked about at the beginning, when we use some of those cliche things, kids kind of just get annoyed by that. So we need a better delivery system that really tells kids, no, this year is going to be different. Trust me. So how do I deliver this? You all see this diagonal, and I've put the delivery phrase here. These are my favorite 3 words, other than I love you. Tell me about. So I show kids a diagonal and I say, tell me about. Now, this comes back to when I said, kids are defeated. They know that they've not been good. They know they have not been successful with mathematics. And we're like, oh, but not yet. And my 10th graders are like, yeah, my teacher's been telling me that for 9 years and nothing's changed. So instead of saying, we're not good yet, or growth mindset, what I do to tell them that this year is different, and to tell them that they have good thinking and reasoning, and to celebrate that, and to increase their confidence, here's what I do. I say, tell me about this diagonal. See, I'm not going to lecture them on the fact that, I am going to acknowledge, yeah, you guys, because by 8th grade, these kids are in the non-advanced math class. So we're telling them, oh, everybody's a math person, everybody can, but yet you weren't good enough to be in the advanced class for math. See, we're really contradicting what we say in the climate that we're building in schools. So I'm going to tell kids, look, you're not in the advanced math class. Now, this is not how I'm talking to 1st graders, okay? I'm talking about these kids that come with a lot of baggage, these secondary level kids, even 4th and 5th grade. Look, you know what? I know you struggle. You're not in the advanced math class, and there's a reason why. And it's because, not to anybody's fault, but the way that math has been delivered to you has not allowed it to open up your brain to access the information. So I'm going to try lots of different things with you this year until we get a just right approach that your brain is going to be able to connect with it. And the only way I can do that is to know what you're thinking. So to get everybody thinking, I use the phrase, tell me about. Now, I don't necessarily tell this to my kids because it's too much lecturing, but I'm telling this to you as teachers. The reason I do this is because we open up the access for everybody. Because I'm not asking for an answer, because I'm not asking them to solve something, because I'm not pigeonholing them into a skill set. I'm just asking them, tell me about this diagonal, anything you know. What it does is it levels the playing field. It allows access to all ability levels, the most gifted and the most struggling at the same time. So I can put every ability level of kid in the same classroom. I don't even necessarily have to have an advanced class. And I can differentiate with this model, with this one lesson. I don't even have to create 7 lessons. So I can say, tell me about this diagonal. Gaining student perspective is so essential. In Daniel Pink's book, Drive, which is all about human behavior and what drives us, it's really about motivation. He said that there are a few important factors for motivation. Number one is a sense of belonging. The way that I create a sense of belonging in my classroom, specifically with math content, is through this model. I actually say, without maybe saying it, I care what you think. I care about your perspective. You belong here, and what your brain is doing matters. And the way that I do that is I say to my students, you know what, guys, tell me about this diagonal. Tell me about this diagonal. Anything you want. Now, when you first start doing this, it's going to be awkward for kids. But in just a few short days, literally like 3 days of doing this, they're going to be like, this is amazing. And I trust you. Like, they're not going to say that in those words. They're still going to roll their eyes because that's just a teenage habit. But they are going to be like, I trust you and I'm willing to engage because you care what I think. I belong. So see, these things are absolutely important. No matter what textbook or curriculum resources we use, no matter what, it's all in the delivery. That's the point. So gaining student perspective is the first thing we should do every single day to jumpstart our lessons. Tell me about. Now, you could get something from your textbook. You could get an equation, or you could get a fraction or a number or a picture or whatever. Take a picture of something in your textbook. Remove all of the questions, remove all of the narrative, remove all of the stuff that forces answer getting and solving, and just put whatever symbol or image is there, just like my diagonal. And you'll say, tell me about this equation. Don't want you to solve it. I just tell me about this equation. Tell me what. Now, here's some other prompts. Tell me what you see. What do you notice? Now, the next thing that I can ask, and I don't always ask. So for those of you that were brand new today, welcome. I hope we see you on other Saturday sessions. The best way to get triggered knowing when the registration is up, because after today, I'll put the registration up for October. I only put the registration up in Eventbrite 1 month at a time in order to not miss it, to be guaranteed to not miss it and not rely on me to remember you. I juggle a lot. I got a lot of plates spinning. Go to Eventbrite and follow Minds on Math. And then you'll get an email. Hey, there's a new event. Hey, there's a new event. Hey, there's a new event. So do that. That would be the number one action. Also, if you are new or even returning and you're not already registered for Tier 1 interventions, get on that train and get your friends and get involved. And we launch September 21st, 2 weeks from today. So got to do that. The next thing I want to say is if you follow Minds on Math on Eventbrite, we've got another free training just like this that we're going to do once a month. This is brand new. Krista, Amy, Nicole, Laura, those of you that are returning, those of you that have been here, Kirk, those of you that have been here before, we're adding another free monthly session that is going to be mathematics based, but it's going to target more of the adaptations. I mentioned the adaptations today. Sherry mentioned in the comments some of the adaptations, but it's going to be mathematically based. So we're going to teach a math concept, but it's going to be much more of Sherry sharing the adaptations for that concept. So if you have kids that struggle with fine motor, you have kids that struggle with visual perception, you have kids that struggle with ADHD, you have kids that struggle with some of those non-academic things, the session every month is called Impact. It will always be on a Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Eventbrite already has the registration up. You can, right now, go to Eventbrite, search Minds on Math, and you can register for that session.
And we are going to extend the diagonal
And we are going to expand on how to adapt that for students with and without disabilities, but looking at it from the what makes a diagonal a diagonal.
Beautiful. And why, when Sherry put in the comments before, diagonals are the most difficult, like in letter formation. Okay. So we're going to add all of those pieces in and extend on the content from whatever the Saturday was. And we're going to share all of the adaptive strategies for kids. So this is up level for us. This is really up level. And we're bringing it to you once a month. And it's going to be on a Wednesday. And we hope to see you for that.